Welcome to your Monday Mindset Moment. We're so happy to have you here. And today we're going to dive right into how to use a feelings chart to boost your child's emotional intelligence and therefore their resilience. Because we know that kids who are really in touch with their emotions have a much easier time being able to navigate the tough things that come and demonstrate more resilience in the face of adversity. So I'm into 10 ways to use a feelings chart to boost EQ. Now, many of you have seen feelings charts out there. I'm so glad you're here, Bliss Birdie. Hi, hi, Brandy. And those of you joining on Zoom, welcome. So glad you're here. We are, often seeing these feelings charts, but not really sure like what to do with them. Besides, post them up somewhere so the kids can see them and just have a chance to sort of like be exposed to the vocabulary, which is fine. We like that too. But there's a lot more that we can do. And we're here today to really check it out. And the reason why is because, with there's stress and power struggles and meltdowns happening, whether it's because kids are still getting used to being back to school, whether they're having challenges with transitioning to a new classroom, new teacher, new homework assignments. Perhaps they're getting sick a lot. I have maybe 7 families in my life in the last 3 weeks who have reported back saying, my kid is finally sick again, which I guess is good for their immune system, but not great for the family as folks are kind of missing school, coming back to school, right? There's a lot going on. So with all of that, it can be challenging to cope with all these different challenges. So let's explore 10 ways to use our feelings chart. Now, this is an example from Wholehearted Counseling that I found on Teachers Pay Teachers. And I really love it. So if you wanted to check that resource out, you can look it up. But what I especially appreciate is that I've seen this work for children as young as age 4, as old, all the way up into teenage years, and even some adult children. Take a look at this and really be able to relate to the different ways that these feelings are depicted. It's also very inclusive and colorful and kind of fun, a little bit funny, and kids like that. So yeah, you've seen these, right? There's simpler ones for preschoolers and toddlers that just have happy, mad, sad, glad, scared. I've seen those as well. And there's much more complicated ones that kind of go into the nuances of when, emotions blend together. And I've seen like the Plutchik's, wheel of emotions we use in our emotional mastery weekend to talk about those nuances, for example, in our year-long immersion program. But today we're just going to, consider a feelings chart much like this one, and we're going to play and see what are 10 ways we could use that the kids really like. So one that a lot of people don't think about is connecting it to literature and their experiences with stories, which can be books, or, you can also look at movies, TV shows, audiobooks, other forms of storytelling. And when you read or listen or watch, pause and ask, what do you think this character is feeling right now? And help them recognize that even though we're watching the outside story unfold before our very eyes, the outside story is like what's happening outside of people. There's also an inside story that's unfolding. And asking about how a character is feeling is a great part of the inside story. And you can look at your chart and make it a fun and challenging game to identify at least 3 possible feelings that the character is experiencing. And then you can go even a little deeper and ask, would you feel the same way? Why or why not? You can see where this could be powerful because it's helping the kids to reflect and contemplate what they're consuming, which is always a good thing when it comes to media. But it also starts to help them connect some dots between external circumstances and internal experiences, and how you can make meaning of those external experiences based on how you're feeling and responding to those circumstances. Another is you can listen to the music and notice how it makes you feel. You've probably noticed that music can put you in different moods. And so you can grab your feelings chart and turn on some tunes and name the emotions that come up as you listen. You can go deeper too with this one. What is it about the song that sets the mood? Is it the tempo, the lyrics? What kind of music do you like to listen to when you are feeling sad, happy, angry, or scared, and why? This can also help kids, just identify that art in many forms, but especially music, can be a cathartic way to experience your emotions or to have a sense of how to make sense of your emotions. And also to be aware that sometimes when you listen to sad music first, then you get some sad news, you actually experience more sadness. And that has been replicated in many studies with many different emotions, by the way. And so the research is kind of becoming aware of like, oh, isn't it interesting how we actually can influence how we feel based on what kind of mood the ambiance has, which includes music, but it could also be art, it could also be just sort of the mood of the people around you. And recognizing that there's an impact that your environment can have on your emotions just from that ambiance. And that art has that power. Next is pick one feeling at random and think about a time when you felt this emotion. And if they're at writing age, this could be a journal prompt as well, where they write down the story of when they felt that emotion. When I say pick one feeling at random, you can close your eyes and point. You could cut up the chart into little squares, stick them in a grab bag or a hat and have them pull one out at random and just say, can I think of a time I felt this way? And if they can think of it, then they can share it right away. But if they can't think of a time of that emotion, they could set it aside and pull up another one until they do pick an emotion that they can think of a story from their own lived experience of that emotion. So just telling the story of what happened and how did you feel, it can be verbal. It doesn't have to be written down, or you can help a child write by writing for them as they tell you, and then inviting them to illustrate it. And you can have a pretty meaningful little, maybe even 3-page little short story that they can make. And this is a lead into some really powerful work with journaling and being kind of more autobiographical, right? So writing out how you're feeling and what your experiences are and making sense of them in that way. All of this is boosting resilience because so far we've already talked about several ways that you can cope when big emotions show up and they're overwhelming, or stress, some ways to relieve stress. A lot of these are even therapeutic, and it can be really helpful with managing emotions as they rise and fall. So if you can also notice how the emotion changed the way you behaved or communicated with others, would be kind of going deeper. So it's like, oh, do you think you would have said that if you weren't angry? Do you think you might have said something different if you were less angry, right? And then what did you do, if anything, to soothe yourself or shift your feelings or to share your feelings with others? And this is starting to give kids a bit of like awareness around their emotional lives. Yeah. Next is playing bingo. This is really fun. You make enough copies of the chart for every family member plus a few extras. And each member cuts up their card and glues the squares onto another sheet of paper in a grid layout, so it's random. And you can add a free space in the middle if you want to go with the classic bingo style. And then cut up one of the extra copies into cards you draw for each bingo turn. And then you can place them on that other extra copy as you call out each emotion, so you can keep track of which ones have been called, and then go ahead and play. Really fun. And it doesn't take much. Just make sure you make plenty of copies, because you'll see that you'll need several extras to pull the cards and to keep track of which ones have been called. And maybe let your kids pick, like, what are you going to put on the little squares, or how big should the grid be? Those kinds of things. They love to have a little influence on the game. And it can be, for those of you who have crafty kids, you might really enjoy decorating the border of it and really making something beautiful out of it. Okay, pretty fun so far, right? So what are the first 4? We can look for the inside story when we're listening to or reading stories. We can listen to music and notice how it makes you feel. You can pick one feeling at random and think about a time when you felt that emotion, or you can play bingo. I'm so curious, for those of you listening, which one appeals to you the most so far? I want you to write it down in the comments in the chat. Let me know. Sharon says she loves these ideas. I'm wondering which one stands out to you, Sharon, like one that you would maybe do right away with your grandkids. Sharon, by the way, has been in our community for several years now, and will be attending the Emotional Mastery Weekend alongside some immersion members. So we're excited to do even more work in emotions with her in February. Which one of these stand out to you? Okay, and then we'll keep going. The next one is probably the most obvious, which is to post it up on the fridge or somewhere that is magnetic. with some colorful magnets. Or if you don't have a magnetic surface, you could use sticky notes, like little sticky tabs, and you can have a color for each family member, or they can write their little name on the little tabs. Either way, you can move the little, circular or whatever shape it is, color markers for each family member, and they can move them around. And one that I really like are these tiny little circular magnets that are almost like little beads, because they're small enough to be on a square without blocking the picture or the word. And I can tell you a quick story about this. I have a client whose daughter really did not like verbalizing her emotions. Like, she didn't want to talk about her feelings. Which was really hard for her to say even sorry and other things. And still to this day, it's something that is coming slowly for her. But I should say, and she could show her feelings really clearly, and her love and her remorse, and make it up to her family members. She just was not very verbal, and still isn't very verbal. And he put this chart up on the fridge with some magnets, and has watched his daughter time and time again walk up to the fridge and move her magnets around, and really like reflect and contemplate, like, how am I feeling? And this was a breakthrough for her, because until then, she really only had her behavior to express her emotions. But by the time she's like 7, 8, 9, we really want that to start coming through some other ways, and also for her to have a more sophisticated range of vocabulary. And so this was a really important one, even though it's kind of the most simple and straightforward. It was a breakthrough for that family. And if you want to go deeper, you can have, do this activity right before you want to solve a conflict, so that the kids can kind of come preloaded with a feeling statement, an I statement that comes from the I perspective. So instead of "you make me mad," it's like, "I feel mad when you," and you can describe what happens when you grab my stuff without asking, because you know that I want you to ask for permission first, and I told you that before. That is a much more constructive way to start a disagreement that is hopefully going to lead to problem solving, right? So this can also be helpful in that. Okay, number 6, you can play charades. Charades is really fun, and because it kind of gets us to try things on that we wouldn't normally. And what it can be is a precursor to empathy when it comes to empathizing with other people who are experiencing an emotion that maybe isn't one of your primary experiences, right? So you can take turns acting out one of the emotions from each row of the chart, which can make it easier to guess, because if it's just one of all of them, it can be very hard unless you have the simple mad, sad, glad, scared, chart. And if you have enough people, you can form some teams and use a timer, just like you would in regular charades. And I would say about 45 seconds is great. Have each team have 45 seconds to guess all the emotions in the row. And if there are any left, the other team gets to guess and get the points. So it's kind of set up as one of those board games, charade board games. A way to go deeper is you could role play realistic scenarios and notice the body language that goes with each emotion. That's the reason why charades is so important, is because it's a much more embodied activity instead of a cognitive one. And our emotions are very much rooted in our soma and our somatic response, our heart rate going up, the way that the temperature of our body changes when we're experiencing an emotion, especially a strong emotion, and the gestures and facial expressions. It's all so much communication. And so kids it's also going to be hilarious to see a kid try and emulate something like disgust, or agitation or something. So it'd be fun as well and funny, but also, get a sense of actually what does it look and feel like to embody these emotions. That's another point of emotional intelligence and awareness. Great. Next, you can take a snapshot of it and save it so you can refer to it on the fly. Now, this is helpful for us adults too, because we can also need to name it to tame it, as Dr. Daniel Siegel would say, who is an emotional intelligence researcher and social scientist. We would want to refer to this for ourselves sometimes, because oftentimes for parents, unfortunately, we're the only ones checking in with us. How many of you know what I mean? You put yes in the comments or chat if you can relate to that. it's not very common. Like I'd say it's probably like a 30-to-1 ratio of us like tending to other people's needs than someone tending to our needs. And of course, there's things you can do to build in more self-care and things like that, but that's still with yourself. And so this relationship you have with yourself is really key, and especially to your own emotions, not only for you and your mental health and your ability to endure the joys and the challenges of parenting, but also so that you can model for your kids what that looks like. Because they will also, in their day-to-day, but especially as they get older, be in the same position you are, where the main person who's taking care of them is themselves. And we want that for them. So one quick way you can do it is you can model looking at a feelings chart when you're sorting out your own feelings and just asking out loud, like, how am I feeling right now? Am I feeling frustrated? Am I feeling agitated? Am I feeling annoyed? Am I feeling, disappointed? Am I feeling angry? Right? Like, and just running through the feelings chart and just starting to, try to name it. And then really model that to the kids, that the feelings chart is a great tool. It's something that even adults could use. And it's helping you to communicate more effectively with your loved ones and or family members. Yes. And so, yeah, some some things that clients have done before in the immersion and some of my private clients is they've absolutely made a feelings chart, their phone screensaver on lock. So when it's locked, they just lift it and it's right there. I've also seen them put it in a photo album that they share with other caregivers, that so you can all have similar resources you're looking at called parenting. So you can pop open your photos, click on the album that says parenting, and there it is alongside other resources that you really want every caregiver to have access to. Yeah, some of my immersion clients have about 40 things in there because we cover so much ground in our year together. And it's a really easy way to just keep coming back to the same source, the same material, the same information as other caregivers so that you are more consistent. I've had even people say like what to do when there's a meltdown, and they really grab our emotion coaching piece or another resilience plan that they've made and have it right there. So it's easy to remember until they just remember it and don't need to look anymore. You can also use like a notes app or other place that you can access it easily, whatever works for you, whatever you're going to have on you and you're going to be able to see it often. You can also make up new ways to sing a song you already know. So how many of you have heard covers before? And some covers of songs sound like the original. They have the same sort of brightness or darkness to it. They have the same tempo, similar vocalizations, and kind of with the way they intonate the vowels can really convey a different meaning. But what if you were to, some of those covers you've heard where they take a very fast song, like a rock punk song, and they turn it into a ballad? It really changes the mood of it. And so you can just play with looking at covers of songs with your kids, especially if they're into music. This can be a really fun exercise. Thinking of those of you who have especially parents of tweens and teens, that might be the way in to their little feelings chart heart. But you also can take songs you already know and sing them a bunch of different ways. And so you can pick something off of the chart and say, what would the song sound like if we were frustrated? Like somewhere over the rainbow in frustrated voice, somewhere over the rainbow, there's this thing, like this is funny. Or you could take a really sad song and cheer it up. And sometimes the lyrics won't match the mood, and that's something just to explore and have some fun with. And you can go a little deeper and say, in what kinds of situations do people tend to experience this emotion, and how can we add that to our lyrics? So maybe you can expand on the storytelling that's often in songs and change up the words of the verse as well, or the chorus even. That could be really fun. All right, ready for 9 and 10? Got 2 more to go. Do you see how much there is to explore with children and emotions? It's pretty exciting. And a lot of these are really fun. You don't need to wait till there's a meltdown, a tantrum, a really anxious bout of anxiety to talk about emotions. As a matter of fact, please talk about emotions and get familiar with emotions outside of those moments where your lid's flipped and you've lost your cool. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to cool down hot emotions, how to put your lid back on, how to find your calm parent switch, because it automatically switches off. How do you find it again and switch it back on? We'll talk about that in a moment. But first, put it up on the mirror in the bathroom or the bedroom, somewhere where kids are up close. We have one in our bathroom that the 8-year-old in my household uses. And so she sees it. So do all of my house guests too, because it's shared with people who come and visit us in our household. And it was amazing. She was helping me a little bit get organized for the emotional mastery weekend for my immersion year-long clients. And I send them these care packages, including feelings charts. And I had a new one that was different from hers that I was sending for parents who have younger kids. They were like photographs and fewer of them, but still pretty engaging, a little beyond mad, sad, glad, scared, but not as sophisticated as the one that I showed you at the beginning of this presentation. And she looked at it and she goes, oh, it doesn't have, and she named like 6 emotions. And I was like, there's no way she was able to see that just at a glance. But sure enough, she had internalized that chart, memorized that chart that's in her bathroom so well that at a glance at a different chart, she could name 6 feelings that were missing. And then she even said, and these 3 are on this chart and not on my chart. Like, what recognition? Like, that's so powerful, right? So just exposing your kids to it over and over and over again, it can really get in there. It's pretty amazing. Now, if you want to go deeper with this, you can play with mirroring, like play with a mirror. And there are these studies where if you hold a certain emotional expression for at least 30 seconds, it can actually shift your mood. And that's where the whole fake it to make it can kind of work. And that's why actors who are really talented can really make it work, where they can really evoke that emotion. If you wear an expression for at least 30 seconds, you could shift your mood. The one that I love, the study that is my favorite, is where they had the researchers had the participants hold a pencil between their teeth for, I forgot how long, but yeah, for a period of time. And they had other people hold it between their nose and their lip, like that, as best as they could. And then they had them answer that, like, see the same images and answer the same questions about how they felt. And the people who had it between their teeth overall reported more positive emotions, or like just uplifted feelings towards happiness or joy or humor. And the people who had it under their nose and they were kind of frowning, basically, reported more towards the negative, what would be considered negative or down emotions, like sadness and fear and, disgust and all these other emotions based on their facial expression. So what they did is they actually mapped the brain activity, and like the smile, which is like the one with the pencil in the teeth, it lights up a different, when you smile, when you make that shape in your face, it actually lights up different parts of your brain and releases certain neurochemicals than if you frown and put the pencil under your nose on top of your lip. It's subtle, but enough to actually shift your mood. And so this is just an interesting thing to know, that I think kids, when they hear this, they're like, whoa, cool science, right? And they start to get interested in the science of emotions. I know I am. And I've definitely seen that be contagious when I show interest. So just explaining that study is kind of fun, right? Sharing that kind of thing. Okay. Last but not least, number 10, use an I statement. Now, we already talked about I statements, right? As a going deeper thing. But what I really want you to know is that if you can practice identifying and naming emotions outside of the intense moments, you have the opportunity to kind of flex your muscles and create highway fast connections between your awareness of feelings and your ability to express them. So practicing I statements is something that I have all of my clients do, whether they're working with me in a private coaching intensive or in a year-long program, or in our shorter course, the Robust Routines program. We talk about what happens when you practice things outside of the moments where you really are under that pressure, whether it's time pressure, emotional pressure, etc. And if you can do that and also role model what it looks like to have a healthy diet of emotional expression and exploration outside of the demands of your day and demands of life, it really does give the kids this message that this is a valuable activity. And so my challenge like I have for you, my invitation is that go role model any of these feelings chart steps in front of your kids and do it for 2 to 3 days consistently. And you'll see what I mean. I've had kids start using I statements after role modeling it for 2 weeks alone. And then that kid used I statements for the rest of their 3 years with me as a teacher. it can be one of the most impactful things you do in terms of your child's social emotional health, is to role model really great strategies that help them to boost their IQ and also to have self-awareness and self-regulation. So please, please, please consider doing it and picking one of these 10 strategies. So we're going to review them real quick. So 10 ways to use a feelings chart to boost your IQ, or sorry, your EQ and resilience. Look for the inside story in literature. Listen to music and notice how it makes you feel. Something might be standing out to you already. Pick one feeling at random and think about a time when you felt that emotion. Play bingo. I know Sharon was interested in that one. Thanks for letting us know, Sharon. Put it up somewhere and where you can move around the markers, like a fridge with colorful magnets. Play charades with the feelings chart, acting out different emotions and guessing what they are. Take its snapshot or save a photo of it so it's somewhere really accessible to you, and model what it's like to refer to it in front of your kids. Make up new ways to sing a song with a very different emotional tone. Put it up on the mirror in the bathroom so that your kid can see it and you can play expression making games. And practice using I statements, especially when you aren't upset. So in the comments in the chat right now, let me know. I'm curious, which one are you going to try next? And just do it for 2 to 3 days consistently. And what I want you to do is do it even if your kid doesn't want to do it with you. It's really okay. It doesn't have to be for them. It can be for the family, which includes you, and see which of these maybe you might find the most fun. And I also want you to consider coming to an event coming up that's going to be fabulous. I'm so excited for it, where we go through 6 different calm down strategies that will really help you in the moment to kind of flip that switch. So what I've seen happen for parents is that you have this automatic switch that flips. And it happens to me, it happens to all caregivers, that at a certain point, either because you're hungry, you're angry, you're lonely, you're tired, you've been repeating yourself over and over again, it's too hot, it's too cold, whatever the thing is that's pushing you over the edge, and then your child misbehaves, and then your child has big emotions, then your child decides not to listen, and then you lose your cool. There are proven ways to take that automatic switch and flip it off so that you can calm down. So we've called this event the Calm Parent Switch, because we want parents and caregivers to find their calm switch and to flip it, and to be able to flip it automatically, with very little effort. And the best way to do that, I'm telling you right now, is to come to an event like the one we're doing and learn 6 quick and easy calm down strategies that really work, they're proven, and discover which of them are the best fit for you. So over this 3-part series, we're going to go through 6 different strategies, and you get to try them on and see which one fits. And the best part of it is that you can then learn about 6 different types of calm down strategies and then start trying them out with your kids to see, and maybe your other parents or adults in your life can try them out too, and find out which ones fit them. So I'm going to let you in on a little secret, which is that your calm down switch and your child's calm down switch and your child's other parental or caregiving figure, their switch might all be different. And it can be part of why things go so sideways when big emotions show up, is that, wait a minute, I need something different than you need, and now we don't know how to do this, right? Or I don't even know what I need is often the case. So come find out what your calm parent switch is, and also discover the options that your child might gravitate towards and get to go try them out. We give you little activities to try, and then you come and report back what worked, what didn't work. And by the end of the training series, you should have a sense of which ones work for you and which ones work for your kids, and have a calm parent plan that you can go forward with and practice until it becomes second nature for you to flip that switch right back. That automatic switch that flipped, you can just switch it right back off, and calm things down. So I recommend go ahead and register for this free 3-part series. It's the first time we've been able to offer it for free in years. So it's a really exciting opportunity. And I'm going to put the link in the chat here. I also know that some folks were interested in this training from last Monday, so I'll make sure to share it with them as well. And we'll be making some announcements about this, but the sooner the better, because you'll have the opportunity to also get some more tips. You'll get a recording of today's training, a version of the 10 feelings chart training, and some other hot tips on how to start finding your calm parent switch even before the training starts on December 1st. Okay. And yeah, even if the times don't work, we have replays, and we also have nightly watch parties where live coaches will be there, either myself or my colleagues. And we'll even have a live Q&A where we'll put some folks on the hot seat and really give them some pointers for their specific situation, and get you some coaching. So we're here for it. It's gonna be really fun. The other thing you can do is join our free Facebook community if you haven't already. If you're listening to this on our YouTube channel, for example, you can feel free to come and join us in our free Facebook community. And last but not least, and I'll put the link for that. Last but not least, please do consider sharing which of today's ideas you're trying out in the comments below or in the chat. That way we know, and you can report back, like, how did it go? Just like Sharon did. She let us know that she was going to be doing the bingo one. And here's the group. And if you wanted to also invite any friends, folks who you think would really enjoy this kind of a training, please invite them to the Facebook group and or to check out the YouTube video, and especially to our event in December. It's free. So it's like free, since it's a free event, feel free to share. Same with the free Facebook group, feel free to share. We'd love to meet your friends and have a chance to help them as well. All right, so without anything else to share at this moment, we're going to wrap up. So glad we were able to hang out today. And so glad you found this training, and I hope you found something valuable that you're excited to try. And do let us know how it goes. Until next time, take care, and hope to see many of you at the December training. Lots of love. Bye for now.